Welcome to Find Your Rush, the game show that helps Rush skeptics and all-out Rush haters find their Rush and become fans, finally, of Canada's greatest rock band. In the last video, we looked at 6 ways to overcome the bias, and only one of them included listening to music with vocals by Rush. Now we're going to share the top 10. Here's the thinking. Rush evolved greatly over its career, from a Zeppelin-esque starts to prog rock epics to new wave adjacency and beyond. Each one is a potential stepping stone to a deeper appreciation of the full, wide-open discography of Rush. But which 10 songs? It's science meets subjectivity. I got hundreds of suggestions from Rush fans that we looked at. We analyzed the data, we discovered the trends, and came up with a list of 10 songs. It's these, the 10 Force list. Beginning with number 1. The song everyone agrees is the first song by Rush that a Rush skeptic should hear. Right here. Okay. Spirit of Radio. The opening song for 1980s Permanent Waves is absolutely the most quintessential, I would say, perfect Rush song. First of all, it is under 5 minutes long, so it's compact, economical, as LIfeson would call it.
I don't care about the time.
Built for the radio. You see this in the dynamic quality of the song that starts with almost that finger-tapping guitar like Eddie Van Halen, going into the low string riff, kind of like something off Zeppelin, and capping off with a reggae break, not once, but dos veces. Lyrically, it's built for the radio too, because it addresses the state of the radio in the late 70s. No more science fiction. We're talking about something where the fans live and access their music. Radio. You had 76 votes for it. It's my vote for number 1. The song is perfect. Tom Sawyer couldn't be much different from Spirit of Radio. It opens the next album, Moving Pictures, in a fundamentally different way. As we talked about in the last video, it has the greatest synthesizer sound in rock history. And it opens up into a mysterious, kind of slinky, kind of creepy guitar part. But there is a problem. Lyrically, Neil Peart didn't write this alone, but collaborated with a poem by Canadian poet Pi Dubois. And Neil apparently added the whole Tom Sawyer character within it, which was a great move. Except he made a mistake. This song isn't about Tom Sawyer.
Now I'm giving all of my fun away. They keep begging me. Look at him smiling and having a time, and all at my expense. And you guys gotta...
If you look at Mark Twain's text, Tom Sawyer absolutely is comfortable playing within society's rules. And if you go 20 or 30 years in the future, you could imagine Tom Sawyer being a CEO for some local company or the town mayor. Huck Finn is muy diferente.
It is me lady. 'Tis me love.
The song talks about the skies are wide for this character. That's Huck. Huck's the adventurer. Huck's the one who leaves Hannibal. Huck's the one that goes down the river. Tom only goes down the river to bring him back. At the end of the song, it talks about exit the warrior. But what happens at the end of Mark Twain's text?
I've gone a long way since I seen you last, ma'am, and the more I got to feel that no human being has a right to own another human being. Tom
Sawyer goes back with the adults to Hannibal. It's Huck that lights out for the territories. But still, it's an absolute classic. Before I talk about the third song a Rush hater should listen to, let's ask a question. What if a progressive rock band known for long epics, sprawling with mythology and mystic subjects with multiple time signatures, decided to go pop? Well, we know, because the band Yes in 1983 surprised all of the world by releasing Owner of a Lonely Heart that went to number 1. I don't think this fact was lost on Rush. I mean, they had their own top 40 hit in '82, and their albums in 1984 and 1985 would increasingly embrace the sounds of the '80s and the sounds of pop music. But the subjects of those albums were a little dystopic and dark. But 1987, they released Hold Your Fire, which is, relatively speaking, a feel-good album. For a producer, they had Peter Collins, who had worked with Tracy Ullman, Nick Hayward, and Air Supply. This is Rush. Time Stands Still. It's been considered the greatest pop song by Rush, and it's just straight up pop. You could imagine this being on a movie soundtrack. I had real difficulty accepting this when it came out in 1987. I was on to listening to the Replacements and eventually the Pixies and Sonic Youth and different bands, so I had nothing to do with this sound. But it always kind of amazed me and surprised me and filled me with respect and admiration that they would go and do this. And what's more is they decided to collaborate with Amy Mann of Till Tuesday. Now, they originally thought about having Cyndi Lauper sing with them or Chrissie Hynde or the Pretenders, but Amy Mann was actually the perfect person to come into the Rush sensibility.
I'm not looking back, but I want to look around.
She was apparently really surprised by this, but said, sure, why not? And the results are quite good. Also, the video is really interesting. It was directed by an experimental art filmmaker from Poland who had won an Oscar for an animated short and directed that weird Mick Jagger video, Let's Work. I mean, of all of the songs that Rush would release over the next few albums that were very melody forward, none are as good as Time Stands Still. Let's talk about the exciting subject of housing. Now, housing is usually not a very popular topic for a popular medium like movies and rock songs, but there is precedent. You have the Talking Heads releasing an album with kind of a postmodern wink called More Songs About Buildings and Food. Madness had a song called Our House. You had the Kinks, who regularly talked about semi-detached housing that all look the same. It's also in the movies, the most famous Soviet movie of all time. It's basically a 3-hour rom-com where a guy in Leningrad gets so drunk he accidentally ends up on a plane, flies to Moscow, goes to his home address to find it looks exactly the same because everything in the Soviet Union has the same type of housing, the same layout in the apartments, and he doesn't even know he's in a different place. Then you have Rush. Subdivisions is one of the most essential songs of all of the Rush catalog. It is nominally about housing and subdivisions and suburbia and how everything looks the same in a cookie-cutter fashion, but it's a metaphor for this hero of the song, the outcast, the misfit, who's trying to stand out in a place where everyone looks and acts the same. It came out on this album from 1982, Signals, which was an album that fascinates me because it had the unenviable task of following Rush's absolute breakthrough masterpiece, Moving Pictures. As soon as the needle hits the wax, you know you're in for something completely different. Their production is much chillier sounding, much more digital and mechanical, gloomier, which is a perfect backdrop for this kind of song. Now, this is a song on this list of 10 songs for Rush skeptics that I really think it's important to watch the video because the video is fantastic and the most iconic Rush video of all of the videos of their career. In it, they filmed a lot of this at the Lamoureux Collegiate Institute, a high school in Toronto, using the drama club as actors. But actually, the lead actor was Dave Glover, who wasn't part of the drama club and just kind of snuck his way on the set and ended up becoming the face of this fantastic Rush song. Incidentally, Alex is pretending to say Subdivisions in the video, and some people say that that's Toronto newscaster Mark Daly.
There's quite a bit of blood at the scene.
In fact, it's Neil. Listen to Subdivisions and enjoy the pleasures of Rush of 1982. Conform or be cast out. In the last video, I asked Rush fans to comment on what Rush song they play Rush skeptics first. And so far, this list of 10 has neatly matched theirs. But here is where I'm going to deviate from the norm of their list. At number 5, they had the 20-minute song 2112, which was a classic prog rock epic by Rush from 1976 that was kind of a sci-fi dystopia set in the future. Another candidate from that genre would have been Cygnus X1, about a real astrological object that spans across 2 Rush albums. But I think the best choice is a prog rock epic with literary roots. Number 5, Xanadu, is my favorite Rush song from the 1970s, 11-minute highlight from this album, A Farewell to Kings from 1977. But to understand Xanadu requires a little bit of history. In 1271, Kublai Khan founded the Ying dynasty in China and shortly after wanted a summer palace, so created Shangdu in western China, aka Xanadu. Only a couple years later, the travel blogger Mark Polo visited and gushed about it. He'd write glowingly about the Palace of Marvelous Art, where he found meadows, rivers, fountains, and beautiful trees. Now flash forward to the 1790s and someone gave the English poet Sam Coleridge dysentery, and then opium to deal with the dysentery, and then a book about Kublai Khan. And all three merged into his bloodstream one night and he had a fever dream and he woke up and wrote a poem called Kublai Khan. Some people have called this a rather fragmentary poem. It's only 54 lines. He had planned to write 200, but that morning he was interrupted from someone from Porlock. And then forgot his dream and couldn't write about it later. People from Porlock are always doing that. When you compare Sam Coleridge's poem with the Rush lyrics, you see a lot of overlap. You have Kublai Khan, you have the Pleasure Dome, you have the River Alf, you have Caves of Ice, you have Paradise, and yes, a breakfast of honeydew. But the most interesting thing to Xanadu for me is the musical composition itself. It begins in an almost bucolic manner, as if a gentle river journey towards your destination's beginning. And then Alex's guitar comes in and announces the first sight of Xanadu. Everything kicks in as you go through the gate into the palace itself. And all of this is before you hear a lyric. Now, if we're honest, a lot of people's main obstacle to Rush is the sometimes screechiness of Geddy Lee's voice, particularly in the 1970s. Well, rest assured, for the first 5 minutes of this song, it's all instrumentation. I think prog rock epics like this were very important for us skeptics to acknowledge, and I think Xanadu is the best starting point.
To stand within the pleasure dome, decreed by Kublai Khan, searching for the lost Xanadu.
By the way, Sam Coleridge talks in his poem about the immortality of this place, but in real life, only 100 years later, the Ming dynasty conquered Xanadu, and it's now in ruins. As poet Bob Frost would later say, nothing Pleasure Dome stays.
Closer to the heart.
Number 6 is Closer to the Heart, also from this album, 1977's A Farewell to Kings. It's the song that Rush fans are most likely to lift their lighters for in concert, and let's be honest, we Rush skeptics.
Sailing into destiny, closer to the heart.
Now, one commenter said it's best to listen to the live version from Exit Stage Left from 1982, and I tend to agree. One of the reasons why I believe that this Find Your Rush notion of finding a part of the Rush catalog to open up the whole discography is more than a gimmick is because it actually worked for me. I was aware of Moving Pictures when it came out and liked it. I was aware of Signals when it came out and liked it. But it was Grace Under Pressure in 1984, not always the most popular album by Rush fans. This is where I found my Rush. Now, I picked this song, second song on the album, for a couple of reasons. One, because it has the universal theme of grief.
Suddenly you were gone.
This song is perhaps the most personal song, certainly on this album, but maybe the Rush discography. I also picked Afterimage because it has a very interesting video. This video was made by British filmmaker Tim Pope, who is an interesting choice for Rush. He had done tons of videos for essentially British new wave bands. Bands like The Cure, Susie and the Banshees, Style Council, Soft Cell, and even that funny video by Quebec's Men Without Hats. And then he did a video for these guys, Rush. Now let's unpack the first 122 seconds of that video because I think it's really interesting. The opening 82 seconds of the video is a single shot. It starts with 11 seconds zoomed in on LIfeson's guitar. It pans over to see the purposeful and stoic Neil Peart. And then it backs in to Geddy Lee. The camera hangs almost uncomfortably close to his face and shows him singing through the first chorus. 56 seconds on Geddy's face. And then it does something totally unexpected. It goes back to the beginning of the last century and shows a heartbreaking scene of a child who had been killed and run over by a horse carriage. Then it goes back to the band. You finally get to see Alex in some successive 1-second shots. It's a very curious edit. Now, one of the things that's really interesting to me about Rush is that Neil is writing the lyrics, but Geddy is having to perform them. And it's interesting to see how they both look at these lyrics very differently. Now, we know that there's different stages in grief. In the video, there's a boy who cannot believe that she's gone. You look at Geddy, and Geddy's performance is almost defiant, almost angry. And then you have Neil, and at the end of the song, he hits the last note and he's just hanging his head. One of the reasons why I like Grace Under Pressure so much is in this song too, and that's those atmospheric guitar parts that Alex did. I think they're an underrated part of his contribution to the entire catalog. If you had an LIfeson Olympics of his hairstyles in his career, I think 1984 Alex wins. I just wish they would have showed Alex more in the video. It's a very curious edit. Now, I do not want to get out of this top 10 list without at least including one song from the last 6 studio albums that Rush released between 1991 and 2012. And in fact, the Rush fans that voted for the Rush song to play, Rush Skeptics, had a lot of songs from this period. Their number 1 was one that I considered, which is poetically the last song from the last Rush album.
There's one of many possible worlds, all for the best, or some bizarre tale.
The next 3 songs they voted for were all from 1991's Roll the Bones. One was Bravado, which is a song really driven by chords and melody.
If the moment of glory is over before it's begun.
I find it a little on the nose to my tastes. It almost sounds like a Christian rock song to me. I prefer the Roll the Bones song that I have at number 8.
Roll the bones, roll the bones.
Now, one of the things I love about Rush is that they will constantly surprise you, from reggae breaks to collabs with Amy Mann. And no song in their entire catalog, perhaps, is more surprising than the title track. Yep, Rush raps. Now, the video is directed by Chris Painter, who normally directed videos for bands like Queensryche and Motley Crue.
All right.
And the kid in it, Michael Vandervelt, apparently is not the Mike Vandervelt you saw slice off part of his finger in the TV series Deadliest Catch.
Tell me what Roll the Bones is about. It's about fate, chance, and destiny.
And do you believe in those concepts?
Not really.
This energetic album did have the fate of being unfortunately released 3 weeks to the day before a certain band called Nirvana made a certain album called Nevermind. Roll the Bones ultimately had a hard time fitting into the rock and roll landscape of the early 1990s. But I love that Rush practices what they preach. They will take chances. Plus, I like that lyric about saxophones.
Stop throwing stones and I have 1,000 saxophones, so get out there and rock.
At number 9 is the only Rush song in their entire catalog to ever crack the top 40 in the United States. New World Man. And it almost didn't get put on the 1982 Signals album because it was a last-minute addition. It's hard to imagine this album without it. It's a little beacon of positivity in the middle of the second side. And kind of completes the unofficial trilogy between the analog kid, the alienated digital man, to New World Man, who finds balance with one foot in the old world and one in the new. It's a great song. And why in the early stages of MTV they did not make a video for this is beyond me. I think if Rush had made a video for New World Man in 1982, it would have cracked the top 10. So before I give number 10, I need to apologize. I'm sorry because in truth, there is no way to give a list of 10 songs that accurately depicts and displays all of the greatness that is Rush or all the different types of Rush. You can't cover it in just 10. And my number 10 isn't from their debut album, or Fly By Night, or even 2112, or any of the songs on Power Windows from 1985, which is one of my favorite Rush albums. For number 10, I'm going to return to their 1981 masterpiece, Moving Pictures. And in fact, if you want to get someone to find the Rush, just play the first side of this record. If that doesn't work, I don't know what will. But my number 10 isn't on the first side of Moving Pictures. My number 10 is my favorite all-time Rush song. Camera Eye is the last time Rush would make an epic that broke the 10-minute mark, and I love it for a lot of reasons. One, the lyrics are wondrously vague, only suggestive.
They seem oblivious to a soft spring rain.
It's a tale of two cities about being lost in the crowd, first in New York, then in London. But the real reason why I love Camera Eye is its instrumentation. Because I think at its heart, underneath that sheath of progressive rock in the early 1980s, Camera Eye is a dance song wanting to burst out. It's a British new wave song. With a tweak, I could imagine it being done by Depeche Mode or New Order. So that's my top 10. Did it work? If it did, well, good news, you have a whole Rush experience to uncover. Songs like Analog Kid and Lion White and Red Barchetta and that wonderful jazz break and Free Will. The electric violin and losing it from signals, it's endless. All of the Rush that you can yet explore. And if it didn't work, I'm sorry. And the truth is, not everyone has to like Rush and not everyone will like Rush. I do hope two things. One, you'll see that Geddy Lee's voice is much more accessible than advertised.
More than just the bottom line or a lucky shot in the dark.
And in fact, he hasn't screeched since that last part of Free Will in 1980. And secondly, that it's okay for Rush fans and fans of Rush to listen to 2112 for the 212th time and do air drumming to all those syncopated stops in La Villa Strangiato. I do hope you find your Rush, but if you don't have to conform and you don't have to be cast out. Thank you for trying.